Now that was a plot twist. I'm not sure it made sense. I don't know how we got here. But revealing Lorca to be the Mirror Universe version of himself was the season's most jaw-dropping moment, and I was into it. I've written critically about Lorca's development as a character. He has made decisions that seem to contradict his established persona in almost every episode. Even in the actor Jason Isaacs' capable hands, Lorca's actions just haven't made sense. But it turns out the writers were playing the long game, and there was an explanation for his erratic nature. When it comes to sudden plot twists, Discovery writers have tended to rush them. See the deaths of Georgiou, Culber, and the impact has been minimal. This one was a slow burn. Obviously, many questions remain. Where is the Lorca from the universe we are familiar with? You know, the one where we aren't eating Kelpians. How did Mirror Lorca go back and forth between universes? To be honest, I'm skeptical this can work. It seems remarkable that Mirror Lorca could have executed this scheme. Did he know Burnham would mutiny and be imprisoned? And that he would be able to pull her out, and that they would eventually find their way back to the Mirror Universe? Am I misunderstanding the plot completely? This week's episode was appropriately titled Vaulting Ambition. It had the riskiest storyline in a season full of them. But whatever Discovery is, it's not a rip-off of previous iterations of Star Trek. For better or worse, it's not leaning on the old conventions of the franchise. It deserves appreciation for that. Point 1. Stamets and Culber saying goodbye. We never got to know this relationship very well, and that's too bad. Anthony Rapp and Wilson Cruz have excellent chemistry. Culber is one of the few characters able to get Stamets to stop being so grumpy. The relationship allowed Mr. Rapp to explore Stamets's depth instead of his grouchiness. I was confused as to how Culber reappeared in order to say goodbye. It had something to do with the mycelial network, but this is one of those Trek moments when the means mattered very little compared to the end. It was very sweet to see brief glimpses of Stamets and Culber as they shared happy recollections about their relationship, especially on a show so filled with anger and bitterness. Point 2. Burnham and Georgiou. Sonequa Martin Green is brilliant as Burnham in the scene when Mirror Georgiou tells Burnham, everything will be the way it was. It's clear that Burnham actually wishes this were the case. Of course, Georgiou means back in the original universe, before the mutiny, back when she was actually a mentor to Burnham. Ms. Martin Green doesn't say a word. Burnham can't reveal her true self at this point, but her face paints a vivid picture of her internal monologue. Point 1. Why is Saru trying so hard to save Tyler? Doug Jones is putting in yeoman's work as Saru, showing genuine concern for the Klingon formerly known as Tyler. And yet, I don't understand why the crew is working overtime to try to save Vok. He is a Klingon spy. He was never actually a human. Saru seems to be trying to save the human side of Vok, but there never was a human side. He was surgically altered to look like this. Which brings up something else. I am further confused over why Vok went so far out of his way to repress his own memories of being a Klingon. Shouldn't an effective spy know that he's a spy, too? The darkness. We know Discovery is dark. It's the darkest of all the Treks. It's also wildly unpredictable. But is anyone having fun watching it? In this episode alone, we see Kelpians who are either enslaved or eaten. We see a random human's body explode for a crime we know little about. Mirror Georgiou unexpectedly, and seemingly without justification, kills several people using a device that would be more at home in an X-Men movie. It would be one thing if this episode were an outlier. But this is the general makeup of the show. Recently, we saw Culber, a key character, have his neck snapped out of nowhere. The crew members seem merely to tolerate one another, Culber and Stamets notwithstanding. No one is having fun. This means the audience doesn't have fun. The crew of the Discovery doesn't seem like the type that wants to sacrifice for one another. Why should they? There is very little affection between the characters we see most.